Hey guys, what's up? Week 186. Have just a mixture, just to kind of picking off some movies that I wanted to watch for a long time. So, not too many new releases, a couple new movies from 2020, but let you guys know that we did shoot the last podcast, or record the last podcast, the Italian Horror Month. We did Ruggero Deodato. I'll briefly talk about the three movies we did on there on here. They won't be in depth like they would on that show. But yeah, if you're into it, check it out. And I want to first and foremost say, when it comes to my ratings and stuff like that on that show, or you get heated, because my whole thing was I never wanted to be too negative on movies, and I never wanted to come in and just like trash something. But when you're in that kind of setting, sometimes you get in arguments and you just go too far with certain things and everything. So I was taking some heat for rating Contamination a 6 out of 10. Now, I like some sixes. I'm just going to put that out there. I like some, sevens, and I love it sevens, but I mean, I think 6 is a good rating. Like, I like some fives, but sometimes, that's just the way I see it, So anyways, I don't mean to trash movies. I don't enjoy watching movies I don't like. It's just when you're on a podcast, you don't really get to pick what you watch so much. So it's kind of, you get stuck in that situation and you're like, I don't want to be too rude, but I have to be honest at the same time. And if you start arguing your points with someone, sometimes you come across as an asshole. And, I can be that. So let's open this up. The first movie I'm going to talk about from 2020 is The Hunt. And this is the one that had the big stink where they basically postponed it because it was such like a high, political turmoil and a lot of the shootings and everything. And this was a movie about elitist liberals, basically killing everyday American citizens, that they looked at as, lesser beings. So yeah, I really do like game of death movies, survival movies. It's definitely kind of one of my favorite little subgenres. I'm a huge fan of The Running Man, love Battle Royale. It's just kind of a age-old kind of genre that I dig. So yeah, this one is definitely a comedy. First, I think it's a dark comedy, but it's got a very high kill count, a lot of action, a lot of blood. So I'll be kind of brief with this one. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was very fun. I thought the cast was great. And, I've heard some things about this that kind of spoiled it, so I won't go into that kind of detail. But essentially about 12 people wake up in the middle of a field. They're all gagged. They have no clue what they're doing there. They find this big trunk in the middle, and they find a key for their gag and everything. And in this trunk, there's a bunch of weapons. And before they can get ready and get the guns and everything, they start getting picked off. And it's this kind of big deal where it's kind of like, the elitist hunting, everyday Americans. So there's, of course, kind of a main character they focus on. And I like the character they chose. They definitely didn't want to go with a character. They kind of definitely wanted to make the character more approachable for the everyday person, not too extreme one way or the other. Just to kind of point out the hypocrisy of the entire situation. And this movie does point out hypocrisy everywhere and how kind of just dumb and miserable everybody can be. So it was really great watching these characters get wasted, and that's not typically something I enjoy. Like, I do like to have attachment to some characters, but I enjoyed watching them, and that's always a plus. You don't have to like the characters, you just have to like watching them. And I enjoyed watching all the characters. So there's some really good kills in here, and there's some definitely funny stereotypes they play into, on the political spectrum. Just for the idea, like one of the guys is from Florida, and it's just like, come on, like just the quintessential, like those news articles you read that you would just imagine the guy look like. It's just very funny in that aspect. I enjoyed myself quite a bit, and it's a little bit clever in the way it does it, especially at the end when you realize that people are actually doing it, and it almost kind of turns a lot of things on their heads in some ways like that. But just very much enjoyed it. Kind of an action horror comedy thing. Lots of action throughout the entire thing. For a bunch of familiar faces, and that's kind of the fun of it, watching the familiar faces pop up. So I won't really spoil any of them. So yeah, and this is a movie that you really don't know who's gonna bite it when and everything like that. But check it out. Very entertaining. One of my favorite watches, or just one of the most fun I had watching a movie from 2020. That's The Hunt. Okay, the next one here is another 2020 movie, and I watched this on Netflix, and this is The Platform. This is also the Patreon pick by Keith White Jr., and I'm super glad he picked this one. I was planning on watching it. I had no idea when I was going to get to it. I believe this one is a Spanish film. Correct me if I'm wrong. I watched it in Spanish, of course. You can watch it in the dub version, which I probably wouldn't recommend. So anyways, this is another good movie that plays with, identity, like a political kind of movie, again, in a way. And on paper, I was like, oh, I get it. It's going to be kind of very generic in that way and very kind of one note. But I felt like it was much deeper than expected, and just, I figured like I already knew what this was before I started it. I was like, okay, it's going to state all these things, maybe like be the horrors of capitalism or greed, or people on the top don't share, that trickle down economics doesn't work. I thought it was going to be kind of a one note thing, and that's all there was to it. But I ended up really enjoying this one. So anyways, this guy, the plot is there's this platform, and every month you're put on a different floor. The higher up you are, the better off you are, because every day a platform comes down with food on it. The people on the top floor eat what they want, it goes down. And you can tell it starts to set up pretty quick that these guys are on the 48th floor, and he's this young guy's partnered up with this older guy who seems kind of mysterious, like he might have done some awful things to be here, and it seems to be the kind of the typical thing, you might have to do some awful things to survive this. So as it progresses, you learn more and more, and the genius thing about it is he goes to talk to, he kind of learns the rules. He goes to talk to the people above him or below him, and they're like, don't talk to them, they're below you. And then he goes to talk to them above, he's like, they won't talk to you, they're above you. And it's just like this huge classism thing, but it's so crazy how it basically states humanity. When you're in a better situation, you'll just be awful to the people below you when you get the chance. So it's just that kind of thing that I don't want the system to change. I just want to be in a different place in the system. It's really kind of twisted, but it starts to get crazy because a couple of the people decide to try to screw the whole thing up, and it turns into this giant bloodbath because they want to send a message. It gets really crazy, and I didn't expect it to go in those kind of places, and I found myself really enjoying it. It starts to get surreal at points because all the crazy things that are happening, our main character is kind of being haunted by past things, and it's just a really good movie. It's one of the best of the year, and I was surprised with how it played out, because like I said, I was like, this is going to be very one note, and it's more sophisticated and more interesting and just so much better done than I expected even, and I knew it was going to be good. I just didn't know how good, and it exceeded my expectations. The platform, very good. Check it out on Netflix, recommended for sure. Okay, the next one here from 2020 is Train to Busan presents Peninsula. And everybody knows that Train to Busan was a freaking excellent movie, right? It was one of the best zombie movies that came out, I think, and I think most people would agree, in the last 10 years or so. Very, very hard, dramatic core in the center of it about family and everything like that, and not to mention the action's very intense and everything. So this is basically 4 years later, I believe, and in the very opening, we see this family kind of trying to get out of the area. I think it's South Korea, sorry. They're trying to get out of South Korea, and they pass up this family and just kind of, they don't want to stop and help them because they don't want to risk their lives. And they end up getting on a boat, and they're kind of this whole refugee thing. And this movie definitely is making a statement on refugees. They're getting rejected. No one wants them, even if they would save lives. Definitely political in that aspect. So they get on this boat, and of course, tragedy strikes. Two of the characters manage to make it off the boat, and they're kind of exiled. Not exiled, but they're sent to Hong Kong instead of Japan, where they're supposed to go. And they show where they're living now, and they're just kind of sleepwalking through life. They're just changed. They're grizzled. They've been through some horrible things. They don't really fit into where they belong. Everybody kind of pisses down on the refugees. That's weird. We have like these three movies that are kind of like that, with all these kind of like social classes and how people are treated. All sorts of things in a row. That's a big thing in 2020 so far. We have here in the movies, at least of these three. So, anyways, these two guys are offered this job to go back to the Peninsula, which has been kind of cut off. They pretty much sealed off everywhere in this area because it's running with the zombies and everything. And they're supposed to go back and get a truckload of money and bring it back, and they'll be rich. They agree to do it because they have miserable existence. A couple other people go back with them. But when they go back here, of course, it's not going to go as smooth. I do like the idea that these zombies, essentially, because, I remember in the original, the first people were saying, well, they're more infected because they still are alive. And this one, they've been running around for 4 years and, not always having food, and they're rotten and stuff. They're now dead. So they are zombies by any term you want to call it. They're zombies at this point, because I know I always went into that, that long spiel about what's a zombie. I consider lots of things zombies that other people don't. But now they are officially zombies because they are dead, and they do bite you and things like that. But anyways, it turns into this big family drama at points because the main character runs into the family that he left deserted years ago, and he feels obligated to help them, and That's kind of what's going on here. But this movie I actually really enjoyed. A lot of people are like, oh, it's like Fast and the Furious with zombies and yada, yada, yada. I love zombies, so anytime it's well made, it's well acted, I really enjoy it. Then the only knock I will have on the movie is a lot of the American actors they have are just really not very good actors. I don't know if they're like British actors doing American accents, but they come across really bad and really shaky or really over the top. One of them's okay, but the first two they have, like the soldier and then the guy in the news report, just not up to snuff with this kind of budget of a film or how well made it is. They just don't fit in. They feel very B movie kind of acting in an A-list movie, and it's very strange because the other leads are very good. The action's really solid, but and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of CGI, but I was into the movie so much that I don't even really care. And CGI doesn't ruin a movie for me unless it's like a bunch of CGI main character or something like that, or just added CGI blood for no reason. But I really didn't have any problem with this. I was so invested with it. I liked the characters. I liked the family. I was into it. But this is essentially kind of George Romero's Day of the Dead, the original script. This is what this movie is. It's that and Land of the Dead, which is kind of Day of the Dead original script anyways. But it really is so much George Romero here, the Day of the Dead original script and Land of the Dead, where they go to this peninsula, and of course there's still people there, but the main group there is this kind of soldier group, where we have this kind of like leader in charge who's kind of like flamboyant and very kind of almost weirdly kind of weak in his presence, but maybe smart, but very good, interesting bad guy to me. I enjoyed his character. And then we have this kind of like soldier type who would be like John Leguizamo in Land of the Dead, or like a Rhodes in the Day of the Dead original script. And he is just this kind of like guy who leads the soldiers and gets the food. And again, we have a classism between these two. But anyways, it very much feels like the Day of the Dead script and Land of the Dead, because we have this, in a kind of building, like this inside city where they have people fighting the zombies for entertainment and all that kind of stuff. It really does feel like it. But anyways, it's kind of a big action movie. And at the end, yeah, I was getting teary-eyed. It's very predictable what's going to happen, who's going to live, but it's effective, and I liked it a lot. So Train to Busan presents Peninsula. Really recommend it. Not as good as Train to Busan, of course, but much better than the animated prequel, which I did not care for at all, really. Okay, we have another 2021, and it's an Italian horror movie too, for Italian Horror Month, and this is Little Necro Red from Necro Storm. Necro Storm, if you guys don't know them, they pretty much make the only movies that nobody else makes movies like Necro Storm. They have, of course, Adam Chaplin and Tater City and Hotel Inferno and Judy and a slew of other movies. They have a very unique style where they take this mixture of CGI and practical effects, and they kind of mix them almost perfectly for what they are in the low budget kind of sense, and they're very effective effects. They always use synth scores. They're kind of more substance or style over substance kind of deal. But Little Necro Red, okay, first and foremost, you're watching this mostly for the gore. It delivers on the gore. It's kind of very surreal, kind of inept to pretty much, but I would say that this movie's really not about the story, although this one tries to incorporate too much story for its own good. I wish that they would let the gore get in the way of the story more, because the story is just kind of a little muddled, and there's like 2 or 3 exposition dumps that are in the movie that explain everything, and one of them's towards the end, and without that, the story makes pretty much no sense, but I wouldn't even care. It just gets really kind of roll my eyes really hard when I have to watch 5 minutes of exposition dump at the end of a movie when the movie's an hour and like 15 minutes. It's just like, that's a little sloppy. It's sloppy. It very is much sloppy, but again, like I repeat, you're not watching this for the story. So I think that they work best when they have simple stories like Adam Chaplin, which is a very great revenge story. It's my favorite of theirs. I think it's fantastic. And it's very straightforward story. I think that their movies work best like that. But anyways, what we have here is this young girl disappeared. Her mother has been kind of distraught ever since. Her husband left her and all that kind of stuff. So their family has fallen apart. She has a friend who is also a private investigator who, this is really strange to me. I thought this was convoluted, that she takes this job. So she's basically hired on to take this job to investigate what happened to her friend's missing daughter. And it's like, do we really need her to take I understand she's a private investigator. We don't need that either. Maybe she can just look into it. Do we really need her to take a job from someone else to investigate her best friend? Do we need that extra like story here of this other character on the computer? And I feel like this character is again only there for exposition to kind of smooth over some of the rough edges of the story. And it's just kind of strange, and I really think it's almost unneeded. And I'm pretty sure halfway through the movie the actor changes who plays him. I'm not 100%, but it sure looked like it. Maybe it's just different lighting or different, his hair was dry or something. I don't know, but it looked a little different to me. But that's a nitpick. Wouldn't care really. Nitpick. That doesn't really bother me. But I'm just saying it was kind of strange that she's an investigative report, like a private eye, and she takes the job on instead of just doing it to help her friend. But anyway, she starts to dig deeper into what happened to the daughter, and she finds her diary. And through this diary, we learn that a lot of the people that she was kind of related to in some sort of way were killed. We're starting to unveil some strange cult where they're all, their bodies are modified. They're kind of melting and gross, and they're led by this old kind of witch lady who's really nasty, and there's a lot of gross stuff going on in this movie. Real guts being ripped out, but like again, I cannot. If you're into gore, then this is an absolute must. It is by far the goriest movie I saw of 2020, and it's going to be really hard to beat it in the gore department, especially for this type of gore, which is very kind of unique. The score is really good too, and it does have some atmosphere. I remember like looking outside of the shot of like the shed and the lights and the windows. I was like, you know what? A lot of the Italian newer horror movies don't have like much of an atmosphere in comparison to their, older counterparts, and no movie really will ever have that kind of atmosphere. But this one, I think, at least tried somewhat on the atmosphere, and I think it's a little bit better than a lot of the other stuff I've seen come from Italy as terms of atmosphere. But I would recommend checking this one out if you're into gore films. If you're not, then steer clear, because the story is not amazing or anything. It's more of a, just kind of a surreal, crazy thing with gore. It's definitely not going to be for everybody, but if you watch the trailer and you say that's totally for me, then this is definitely for you. So check out Adam Chaplin, though, if you have not. I would recommend that one to anybody. Just a crazy, gory, revenge story, superhero movie thing. It's just really freaking cool. But yeah, that is Little Necro Red. We're going to be like a minute on each on these ones, okay? This is Jungle Holocaust by Ruggero Deodato. This is the second cannibal movie after Umberto Lenzi's Man from Deep River. If you guys knew anything about me, I'm a big Ruggero Deodato fan. I am a big cannibal fan. I am a big kind of jungle adventure movie fan too. So anyways, this one stars Ivan Rasimov and the guy from Holocaust 2000, and Mimi Lay is in here. So we have some, I guess, cannibal alumni in here. So basically, this is the first one Ruggero Deodato did before he did Holocaust. It has a lot of the things that Holocaust has, the vicious scenes with the beautiful music. Well, unfortunately not by Riz Ortolani here. We have the overhead shots of the beautiful jungle. We have some nice cinematography, and then we have the nasty brutality of the jungle. Gross kind of weird abortions, and there's a weird abortion in here with alligators. So spoiler, there's the animal violence. There's the sexually explicit material. There's the becoming a monster in the jungle to survive aspect. There's lots of cool stuff going on here, and we discussed it. We had Calvin on there from he directs movies. He's an independent filmmaker. He was talking about Jungle Holocaust, and he had a lot of love for it. He mentions that he thinks this is the scariest of the jungle cannibal movies, and you know what? I think he's right in that aspect. This one definitely is scary. There's a lot of animal cruelty, so if that's going to bother you, look, this is definitely not for you. But just what this lead did, such a dedicated performance from the cast and crew to be on location. Low budget movies never go on location anymore, not like this, and it really shows that the dedication and the actual hard work and actual fear to make it in this location, the dangers of it, the poisonous animals and everything like that. But anyways, highly recommended Jungle Holocaust. I thought the Blu-ray looked pretty good. It was a nice upgrade. I think that there is some stuff in here they mentioned that maybe the uncut version isn't. There's a couple scenes that don't look as great on here. But anyways, just really recommend this one. Very good stuff. Anyways, I mean, the gore is not up to snuff with a Giannetti De Rossi stuff, but it's decent, Okay, the next one by Ruggero Deodato is, of course, one of my all-time favorite movies. This is House on the Edge of the Park, starring legendary actor David Hess. It also stars Giovanni Radici, Lorene Dessel, Annie Bell, who is the Christian Balmero, I believe is his name. Music by legendary composer Riz Ortolani, with probably one of my favorite scores of all time, if not my favorite score. It is essentially kind of a Wana, kind of capturing that last house on the left, kind of mean-spirited stuff. I don't want to get into too in-depth on this one because I said we talked about it for an hour on the podcast. I love the performance of David Hess. I love the relationship that he has with Radici. It's very kind of twisted and scary, and just realistic in a way. I think that this one is one of the most mean movies ever made. It opens up with one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. I mean, as far as like not ever seen, but just like for an opening of a movie within the first 3 minutes, you're like, wow, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough right off the bat. But like I said, you cannot talk about how good this music in the movie, Sweetly and Do Anything for You, You Desire, and so all that music is just so effective in here. And it's just mostly really just kind of a torture rape movie in this house for a long period of time. But of course there is a twist, but it's just, you see kind of the character dynamics. And again, I was talking about this earlier. We have these kind of working blue collar and people in Alex and Ricky, who are, Alex especially is a sociopath. He's a violent, I would say psychopath. He's violent. And the rich people are, you know, kind of elitist, and they're not very likable either. And we have that dichotomy, we have that, you know, that, I don't want to say competition, but we definitely have that, you know, against each other. They're definitely at each other, and at first the rich people start to kind of mess with them and provoke them in certain ways, and Alex takes control of the situation, and just complete sociopath. But anyways, there's a nice monologue he gives in here, which just gives me chills. It's just intense. The ending is super iconic, and I relay this story about Nicholas Worth and David Hess on Swamp Thing, both being involved in a pool scene in back-to-back years, 80 and 81. So check out that podcast if you're more interested in hearing a lot about it. But I just can't recommend this enough. It's one of the nastiest video nasties. It's you know, it lives up to, you know, the director's name with Cannibal Holocaust, and just very kind of crazy stuff here. Big fan of it. I know it's not for everybody, and I completely understand that. It's very mean-spirited and just kind of ugly movie, but also, like I said, it has those moments that really kind of move me in a way. So, House on the Edge of the Park. Great name, great trailer, great movie, great score, great performances, and just an amazing poster too. Yeah. Be even quicker with this one. This is Body Count by Ruggero Deodato, starring Mimsy Farmer and David Hess and Ivan Rasimov and John Striner. So weird cast. John Striner and frickin' is it Steiner or Striner? I always do that. And Ivan Rasimov in the movie are like 3-5 seconds. This is an 86 movie. This is an American slasher, or an Italian movie made to look like an American slasher by Ruggero Deodato. Claudio Simonetti does a score. Very good score. Starts off pretty cool. Some interesting stuff. Great location on the mountains. Foggy, good atmosphere. But it becomes kind of repetitive. Very much Friday the 13th kind of clone in a lot of ways. You know, finding the bodies and everything like that. There's some decent nudity. Surprisingly, they actually show full frontal in a scene that feels like it's straight out of a sex comedy, which is kind of strange. I do enjoy watching David Hess for sure. He's very cool in it. The storyline is a little convoluted too. A lot of flashbacks and characters in there that you're like, who are these people? Why are they here? Is that just to squeeze in an extra kill? But all in all, it's just a fair slasher movie. If it sounds like it's up your alley, check it out. It's very short though, an hour and 23 minutes. I think there's a longer version with more gore. I'd be interested in checking that out and beef up the kills. And, you know, if it was remastered, maybe that would help too, but because it is shot nice and it is in a great location. So that's Body Count. Check it out. Very funny that in the movie they keep calling him shaman instead of they're like, shaman. He's a shaman instead of shaman, and you're like, anyways, Body Count.
Within the seclusion of a forest lies the secret of a terror unimagined.
I don't know whether you'd like it, though. It's right in the middle of nowhere.
Where the young come to play and to party.
I guarantee you this is going to be a weekend you'll never forget.
Campers. It's like a minefield.
What'd you set all these traps around the house for?
Because I'm gonna get him.
Oh, by the way, there's a lot of kids around here. Anything happens to them, I'm gonna hold you responsible.
See how you do it, Tracy?
If I missed, you know you don't have to swallow, sissy.
No.
In these woods, fresh air can be bad for your health.
This was no accident, Ted.
Tell us about the murder again.
You're the only one who can save those kids.
If there weren't an orgy in there, would I do this? What? Stay away! Come any closer!
What's wrong?
The mathematics of murder and menace, where the hills are alive with the sound of screaming. Body count.
Okay, I'm going to be fairly quick with this one. This is The Masquerade of the Red Death by Roger Corman, with Vincent Price and Patrick Magny. And yeah, I'd never seen this movie. So I was like, man, I need to definitely watch some more Roger Corman movies. And who doesn't love Vincent Price? So this was one of the more popular ones. This is a Poe adaptation, of course. And this is a Poe story I'm not super familiar with. Like, the Casa Amontillado and, the Pit and Pendulum. Those are ones, everybody knows. Or the Raven. The Black Hat. Those are just ones that are almost embedded in your head at this point. But I'm not so sure that the Corman Poe adaptations were that close to the source material anyways, so we'll get away with it. So this one takes place, I don't even know the time frame. I'm terrible with that stuff. But it's definitely the time of villages and lords and people being awful people to the poor people again. Man, there's just so much of this in here. A lot of movies where we got poor versus rich and all that kind of stuff going on. So I know that the Hammer movies always portrayed rich people as awful, and I guess some of the Poe movies do the same, and the Amic, all those kind of movies, those old movies kind of always have the rich evil person in here. But Vincent Price is this prince, Prince Prospero, and he is an all-around piece of shit, and he's also a Satan worshipper. Yes, that's right. So anyways, what happens is there's this old lady wandering through the woods, and she meets this kind of like this cloaked figure, and he hands her a white rose, then he turns it red, and he says, the Red Death is coming. And she ends up going back to her village and telling everyone. Vincent Price rolls through to basically tell everyone, thank them for the harvest, basically taking all their food and then giving them the scraps, thank them for the harvest. They kind of confront him and argue with him and tell him that this old woman has brought the Red Death with her. Vincent Price kind of freaks out, of course. He takes a young woman that he's interested in there, the actual daughter of the person and boyfriend, the girlfriend of the two men that kind of confronted Price, takes her with him to the castle, has all the rich people around in the area coming to him for like a party and aid and all them, and he shuts them all in and tells them, I will protect you from the Red Death if you do absolutely everything that I tell you. So what kind of follows is those two men, the father and son, are also captured and brought to the castle, and they're always constantly trying to be pitted against each other for the prince's entertainment. But what happens here is we have all these kind of idiots that Price is just super rude to because he knows he can be, and everything like that. So he's like walking around the party and is like, you're a pig, get on the ground, and they just are kind of like, they have to do it, and they're just like being big buffoons and laughing all about and everything like that, while everybody else on the outside is starving and dying from the Red Death, and they're sitting there drinking wine and everything. The set designs here are gorgeous. The lighting's gorgeous. All those different rooms, the white room and the yellow room and the purple room, and of course the room you're not supposed to go in and everything like that. But it has a really good end reveal and everything like that. Good just comeuppance. Some medieval kind of, definitely like what it feels like, the Conquista, not the Inquisition and all that kind of stuff too. But Price is great. He's got some wonderful lines in here. He's just chewing the scenery like he always does, and he's just perfect in it. And that's pretty much the driving force here, is the atmosphere and all that, and the sets and just the funness of it. Patrick Magny is also really good in here as a kind of an asshole guy. Anyways, recommend this one. Very good. The lead's kind of the main girl I really like, but the main guy, he's fine too, and the father I liked, ended up liking him. But anyways, this is just, definitely very Roger Corman Poe stuff, but very good at the same time. Highly recommended. The Blu-ray looks really good too. I was very happy with how it looked. The colors pop and everything. Just a very enjoyable movie. Very easy to watch and everything. Okay, the next one here is by John Roland, and I believe this one's from 1978. I had to double check on that, and that is Grapes of Death. You guys know me. I am a zombie fanatic, and I do like John Roland's movies. I had seen them, I've seen a handful of them, like, Fascination, and I think I've seen, what is the one, The Iron Cross, is it? And I know for a fact I've watched a Living Dead Girl, which I think is fantastic. I love The Living Dead Girl. Zombie Leg, not so much, but who does? But Living Dead Girl and Fascination, I think, are top-notch movies. So anyways, I was excited to watch The Grapes of Death. I had heard good things about it. So this is a really strange movie. Strange zombie movie for sure. But I like the weird ones. I like the strange zombie films. So basically this small village is fumigating, not putting pesticide, not fumigating, but kind of like putting pesticide on their grapes and everything like that. and they're promised better equipment to wear, but of course they don't have it now, so they're breathing in all these weird chemicals, and like Garden of the Dead or something, they end up turning to zombies. So it starts off kind of slow at first. We kind of see the guy who is spraying kind of exposed and all the marks on his face. And they're not typical zombies. They don't completely lose their mind. They kind of almost become crazed, like the people who own the dark or something like that, like, or rabid. You know, not necessarily 100% zombies, but it seems like it progressively gets worse, maybe. So anyways, what happens is there's this girl on a train, and this character from the village, he gets on the train and he's all messed up, and he goes to attack them, and the zombies look so gross. Like, they have like these boils, and the color is like street trash color too. Not that extreme and not that bright, but it's just like weird colored, off colored stuff, like nasty pus and stuff. And it's just, for some reason, it's grosser than typical gore to me, because I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, it's kind of like this, like if you watch a scene in a movie where somebody's just eating really gross, like shoving cream corn in their mouth, like that's 10 times grosser than any like gore effect. I'm just like, oh no, cream corn. I don't know why, but it's like that, but it's in their skin. Just gross to me. It's gross to me. So the zombies end up chasing the two girls. One ends up getting killed. This other one makes it to the village, and she kind of runs into a house, and she knows something's wrong right off the bat. The guy won't let her use the phone, and before long, she's kind of trapped in this village running around trying to survive. And she ends up running into a blind woman, which is just quintessential European whore, right? You have to have this blind woman with you that you know, anytime you watch these movies, she's like, I can't trust that blind woman. She's going to do something. But anyways, it's just miserable for her because she's absolutely screwed in this situation. But it's got really good atmosphere. There's these amazing shots where it goes completely wide. And like, I was like watching it and I was completely stunned. Like, it's the whole camera, and like the character will be a dot this big on the screen, and they'll just literally be like mountainous ranges, and you'll see that character walking through. And I'm just kind of like dumb. I'm like, man, the scope is so good. I'm a sucker for scope. So like when it goes wide, I'm like, what? That's beautiful. It looks great. So it automatically just makes it better, way better for me. So that's probably why I like Westerns and not so much low budget modern Westerns, because they never have scope. So I like a lot Western. I'm like, it's got to be widescreen. So when you go widescreen with the scenes here and show like the whole entire location, it just makes it that much better for me. So they do that a couple times, and I was like, you can't beat that. I literally said that out loud. But anyways, you know, it's just creepy atmosphere. A woman trying to survive against a horde of pus-ridden pesticide zombies. It's not super graphically gory, but there is a couple scenes here, decapitation and stuff like that. Good, enjoyable zombie movie. I liked it, you know, without giving too much away, but it does have kind of a crazy ending on top of that too. I don't necessarily, it kind of is in line with something like Living Dead Girl, where, you know, somebody does something for somebody they love, which maybe they shouldn't, but yeah, Grapes of Death, good stuff. One of John Rowland's best that I've seen. Liked it. Very, very good stuff. So yeah, it's Grapes of Death. Okay, right now we have another one from Severn Films, and this is She Killed in Ecstasy by Jess Franco. This actually stars, what was this actress's name? She was pretty big. Soledad Miranda. She didn't live too long after this and Vampire Lesbos were made, unfortunately, but she had kind of a cult following. But this one here is a Jess Franco movie that I actually never got a chance to watch, so I popped that in. And you know, Jess Franco is one of those directors that I don't love every one of his movies, but I love his personality and I love his dedication to film, and I know that a lot of the stuff that I've seen was kind of considered his lesser known titles, and I hadn't seen some of his big ones till recently, like Venus and Furs and this one. So I was like, when you watch those, it's just a completely different filmmaker, and it's just very obvious he's working within his budget. And when you give him more money, he gives you a much better movie. So She Killed in Ecstasy. This one's a pretty straightforward movie. Essentially what we have here is this doctor who's kind of performing on fetuses and embryos and everything like that. And obviously that's not very, it's frowned upon in 1970, late 60s, early 70s. And he's kind of exiled by these 4 doctors, one of which is Howard Vernon and one of which is Jess Franco himself. They kind of exile him and tell him he's a horrible person. And he loses everything. He loses the drive to do anything. He's also married to Soledad, of course, So, anyways, he lays in bed and he constantly thinks about the awful things that they said to him. He's completely crazy, and one day he decides to end it and kill himself. And they're beautiful, what is it, like a villa or whatever they live, it's a gorgeous area. And yeah, it's kind of funny here. It's like, man, like he lives in this gorgeous villa with this beautiful woman, and he probably has a lot of money. It's like this guy was so dedicated to like science and health and everything that just that ruined him. Like I'd be like, I'm fine. I don't if as long as I got enough money, I don't have to work. We're just gonna sit here and do whatever, go swimming and drink wine. I don't care. That's what we're gonna do now. But he ends up killing himself, and this kind of drives his girlfriend completely off the rails, and she kills in ecstasy. So of course she kind of focuses on the four doctors, which reminds me a lot of like Basket Case, which this is obviously made way before Basket Case, but it's kind of a weird where the movie you pick off doctors. That doesn't typically happen in movies. So I wonder if Henenlotter took it from She Killed in Ecstasy. Maybe. I'm sure he's seen this movie. I'm sure he's seen every movie. But anyways, what happens is she makes these elaborate disguises. She like knows their personalities, so she like at one point she dresses up as more like a high class prostitute and meets with one of them, and then she kind of seduces one of the other ones. Completely different outfits too. In fact, when she seduces the woman, I was completely surprised it was her. I was like, "What's going on here?" And I was like, "Why is this scene?" I was like, "Wait, that's her in a wig and everything." It literally took me back. I didn't recognize her because her appearance was so different. I really couldn't tell it was her. So yeah, she picks him off and everything like that. It's very kind of straightforward, but it's effective. And there's that iconic scene where she's sitting on the couch, kind of like clearly insane. It's on the cover here, like naked and just staring off in the distance, kind of shaking, like obviously just not okay at all. But I just enjoy the movie. I think it's pretty straightforward and very effective. And of course, revenge movies always kind of end in a certain way. And I actually don't really recall how dark this ending was, as strange as it is. I remember quite a bit up until the very, very ending of the movie. But anyways, good performance by the lead. She has very good screen presence. She's gorgeous, and she just, like I said, she's a chameleon, and that was really kind of impressive to do that. This one does remind me a bit of Venus in Furs, how it's kind of like they've done somebody wrong, and there's somebody else picking them off and stuff like that. It's kind of in that vein too. But anyways, I would recommend checking this one out. And this is such like first world problems here. When I was opening it, I like barely ripped the slipcover right here, and I was like, oh my god, my life is over. But it happens, and it also looks like there is a slight crease in the front cover. See, this is what's bad about buying movies, is like right when you open it, it's just like I want to watch everything, but then you're like, that's what's the problem with OCD is, and it's like you're watching them, you're not a reseller. Just relax. Anyways, Synapse did a great job. It looked really good. It sounded good. This one is in German, though, so you'll have to read subtitles, but you guys are probably used to that by now. But She Killed in Ecstasy. There's a bunch of features on here, too, which I really liked. One where kind of there's a historian that talks about Soledad's career and everything like that. That was nice to see. And, well, there's another one I watched on here that I'm kind of slipping. I want to double check. Stephen Thrower talked about the movie too, and I always love watching Stephen Thrower. And there is, of course, is there a Jess Franco interview as well? So yeah, check that disc out. I still think it's in print. I don't know if you'll get the deluxe slipcover edition or whatever, but hopefully it's not out of print because it's a pretty cool movie. Okay, burning through some more blind spots, we have Alfred Hitchcock, 1972 Frenzy. I had never actually seen Frenzy. It was been on my want to watch list for years. Interesting fact, very strange, I just always stuck in my head, it was the serial killer Joel Rifkin's favorite movie. That's really unpleasant to think of because he was a serial killer that strangled prostitutes, and the killer in this movie is somebody who strangles women, and I'm just like, that just feels unpleasant as hell knowing that. So this is a really beautiful looking movie. I was kind of shocked putting in the Blu-ray. I was like, this looks so fantastic. No one would believe this is 1972. And this had an opening that made me laugh out loud for a minute and a half. I'm going to have to spoil it a bit. I literally laughed out loud for like a minute and a half after I saw it. So we have this kind of a politician or something up on the stage talking about, we need to clean this area and bring it back to its vitality and everything and be great. And we're going to make this a wonderful place to live. And then all of a sudden there's this naked woman floating in the river dead. And everybody's like, oh, it's the Strangle. It just like literally just made him such a jackass. Like he's talking about bringing this area up and making it beautiful and not polluting and all this stuff. And there's literally just a naked strangled woman face down in the water. like wash-ups on shore, and it completely ruins everything this guy was trying to do. But it just kind of set the mode right there that this is going to be a dark, dark comedy, and there is quite a bit moments of dark comedy here. So the lead actor in here is John Finch, I think is his name, and the funny thing is I've seen him in a couple Hammer movies, but I do remember him in the Full Moon movie Lurking Fear, because he's got such a super memorable voice, and that brings me to the question of the week. Hopefully I won't forget it, but this guy's voice is so great. He reminds me of a mixture of Oliver Reed and Warren Oates. And like, I mean, just his look and his voice and his demeanor, because he is kind of a loser. He's a loser. And like through the first like hour of this movie, like 30 minutes, you're like, he's the killer, right? He's the killer. Everything points to him. But as it would suggest that there's lots of characters that are talking about the incidents in the background. They said they could be anybody, and then just one time they have this childish thing and they snap, and that's it, and everything like that. So this is a really good movie. This is a really excellent, and it feels a lot like a giallo, just kind of told by, you know, like a British, in a British sentiment, you know what I mean? But essentially what we have here is this kind of divorced guy who has a drinking problem and possibly some violent tendencies. He works in a bar, and right in the beginning of the movie he gets fired. His girlfriend also works in a bar, and he ends up visiting his ex-wife, who is basically, she like has a marriage, like she's like a dating service, puts people together to get married. So he goes and visits her, and they kind of have an argument, but they end up going out to dinner. And that night he knows somebody that one of his friends is also involved with the case, and I don't really want to spoil too much about the movie, but people start ending up getting strangled that he knows, that he's close to, and that all signs point to him. So the cops start to investigate him, and the cop in here is a great character, very comedic character, and they always have they stop the movie just to have these good gags of his wife cooking him awful, like sophisticated French dinners and everything like that. And literally the dinner she is serving him, like the soup with the crabs and a fish head, and the way he's like throwing it back in the pot when she's not looking, is just really great comical stuff. And I would literally, I'm pretty good about eating stuff that people make, but I couldn't do that one. I could not eat the fish head and the crab, little crab legs, not the actual like legs, like, but they're just, that's not food. That's not food. That's food for like raccoons and stuff. I can't eat that. But anyways, it's just really good jokes in there. And I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a really great, crazy scene where there's a body in a back of a truck with a bunch of potatoes, and the potatoes are falling all over the place. Lots of good suspense. And it ends kind of on a weird kind of like, you got me moment kind of thing. But it does have those elements of dark comedy too, although you know, it is kind of about a serial killer who strangles women. But yeah, that's Frenzy. Good stuff.
I dare say you are wondering why I am floating around London like this. I am on the famous Thames River, investigating a murder. Rivers can be very sinister places, and in my new film, Frenzy, this river, you may say, was the scene of a very horrible murder.
It's a woman!
Another necktie murder.
Of course, one can never be sure where danger lurks. They tell me a dreadful crime was committed right in this building. My investigation next led me to this innocent alley, of which there are hundreds in London. But I don't think we should stay long. Something unpleasant is about to happen. Here is the scene of another horrible murder. This is the famous London wholesale fruit and vegetable market, Covent Garden. Here you may buy the fruits of evil and the horrors of vegetables. I've heard of a leg of lamb, a leg of chicken, but never a leg of potatoes.
Here, what's wrong?
just wearing my tie. How'd you like my tie? How do you like it?
My God. The tie.
Okay, this next one here we have is by Sainon Sano, or is it? Yeah, Sion Sano. I always say his name wrong, but this is Cold Fish. I'd never seen Cold Fish, so I wanted to watch this. This is one of his more popular titles. This is part of the Hate trilogy, along with Guilty by Romance and Love Exposure, I believe, two of which I've not seen. I have seen a handful of his other films, including Suicide Club, Norikyo's Dinner Table, and Strange Circus, which I think are all, and Forest of Love, which are all very good movies. This one is also very good. This is a very long movie. And again, he kind of focuses on those terrible, weird family dynamics of dysfunctional family, just all sorts of weird, twisted stuff. But this one, it follows this kind of mild-mannered man who runs a fish store. And, you can obviously tell his life is not great. He had remarried. His wife had died. His young daughter hates her stepmom. They do not get along. She's also kind of in that stage where she's kind of lashing out because of this situation. He really doesn't have much of a backbone. He doesn't really do anything about it. His daughter gets up in the middle of dinner, talks on her phone, and leaves, that kind of deal. One day she's caught shoplifting by this older gentleman at a store, and they're going to throw the book at her, but the older gentleman intervenes and helps her out and gets the guy to kind of go lenient. This older gentleman also runs a fish store. He brings him over to check it out. He offers to give the daughter a job to keep an eye on her because he's got a bunch of young girls always working for him. He's kind of a larger than life character, kind of aggressive but seemingly friendly, but obviously too friendly. So he starts to kind of make eyes at the wife, and he starts to invade their life, and pretty soon he kind of it's too late because the lead character is involved, and it's a criminal organization, and this guy is kind of pushing him around and everything like that. And at points he pushes him so hard that eventually that there's gonna be some sort of change in him. And sometimes when a change happens, you can't go back from the stuff that you've done, and it's just completely over. But anyways, it gets pretty dark. It's pretty gory. There's lots of bodies being chopped up and disposed of, which reminded me of Forest of Love, also by Sono. Very similar in the kind of deserted house where they're chopping up bodies and disposing of them. But it's a lot of these elements coming up, and there's just some really great characters in here and really big performances, really well acted. The old man and his girlfriend are just great and twisted. Another of the crime bosses is also just fantastic, and also there's these dark comedic elements as well in here. There's some moments that are absolutely funny, and it's just super dark and disturbing at the same time. I don't know how much more to say about this without completely spoiling it, but it's a fantastic movie. It's one that the more you think about, the better it gets. On a rewatch, I'm sure it would go up. It would get better. But the ending is very memorable, and it's just kind of crazy. And it's a nasty movie. There's rape. There's lots of kind of dark stuff going on. But I feel like he tackles these movies, these dysfunctional families, better than anyone else. And he makes them complex. And he puts them in such weird situations that you're like, man, I don't know how the hell we got here, but it feels like it could happen. And it feels like these super complex emotions because of it, and the interactions and everything to make them solely unique to his movies. Great stuff. Cold Fish, highly recommended. Can't wait to watch more by him. I really still need to watch Hair Extensions and Tag and what is the other one? Guilty by Romance. I think those are all considered horror films on some extent, but the rest of them I've all really liked or loved, or they're all very good to great to me. So yeah. Okay, the next one is Survive '05, and this is the 2005 remake, kind of House of Wax. So yeah, I had never seen this one, and I heard good things about it. Everybody's like, yeah, it says it's a remake of House of Wax, but it's a remake of Tourist Trap, and I just reviewed Tourist Trap a few weeks ago. I'm doing Survive '05 on 22 Shots, so definitely time to watch House of Wax. This is one of those Dark Castle movies that came out along with, like Ghost Ship and House on Haunted Hill remake and 13 Ghosts and all those. And I had never seen this one. It's very 2005 from the musical choices, the character choices, how they look and everything like that. And even the opening, the 20 minutes or so getting to establish the characters is very 2005. And that's the only thing that really holds it in that area. But besides that, I really enjoyed this one. Really liked it. Really good stuff. Of course, it has Paris Hilton in here. It has a very memorable cast. Let me double check the cast because they're all people that right off the top of your head. Oh geez, and I just can't, they're all actors of their time that I can't register to the top of my head here. Not to be a complete idiot right here, but that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Jared Panicki, Paris Hilton, of course, Elisa Kubert, that's the one that I forgot from Girl Next Door. I wanted to make sure I shouted her out, but no, it's just all these actors were so big at the time, and then you don't really see them very much anymore. But yeah, so anyways, they go to this, they're kind of traveling on to a concert, and they pull over to kind of a side of the road, and some guy with headlights kind of pulls up and kind of staring at them. They get upset. Chuck, something at his one of his headlights and break it. He drives away. So they think that's pretty much it. The next morning they find a big pit of dead animals and roadkill to the side of it, and it's real gross. And some kind of hillbilly guy throwing it into the all the stuff in there and everything, kind of like a runoff, and that's where he's tossing all of it. Actually, the actor who played Charlie Manson in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he's in the Nightingale as a real piece of shit. So, anyways, the group of kids, they end up separating. Some go on to the concert. And a couple end up stopping in this small town because something's wrong with one of their cars. This small town is really strange. And at a certain point, almost everybody disappears into the town. But kind of the big focal point of this town is a house of wax. But the real cool thing is the house of wax is made out of fucking wax, which is awesome. It's so cool. And that whole idea of the wax things, wax mannequins in horror movies are just totally freaky and awesome, and I don't think I've ever seen a bad horror movie that involved wax figures. From the 53 House of Wax to this one to the Wax Mask to Waxwork, I dig it all. I need to watch Mystery of a Wax Museum as well, but I pretty much dug all these so far. But anyways, it's a slasher movie from 2005. It turns out that there is somebody still there in the town, and there's this whole nice rich kind of story they give about these twins being Siamese twins being separated at birth, or conjoined twins is the proper term, sorry. Conjoined twins being separated at birth, and everything, and one was kind of scarred up and all that kind of stuff. So it's got this dark, twisted story and everything like that. And come to find out, a lot of the things in the town are made of wax too. And this is the only people that don't seem to be made of wax. Maybe somebody that from previous stories in here, obviously. But like I said, it is very much a tourist trap remake. Unfortunately, we don't get the telekinesis or the creepy puppets doing ba ba, because that stuff is super creepy. But anyways, it's pretty effective, and I enjoyed myself. The kills are pretty good, and some of them are pretty gnarly. And the big climax with the fire and everything is just awesome. So cool. And a great demise to villains in here. Just good, way better than expected. I did not expect very many good things about it. For years I was like, House of Wax remake, and then I actually watched the damn thing, and I was like, this is pretty good. Very much a product of its time, but very much one of the better products of its time, to be honest. So yeah, check it out. Hey guys, what's up? It is Blindspot. I don't remember what's going to be next week because everything's mixed up. But this week is Brian De Palma's 1972 film, Sisters. Yeah, it's Sisters. I know the title. I was looking for the year. So this is before Carrie. This is before Phantom of Paradise. I think this is considered his first horror movie. I know he did some short horror movies and kind of I don't think maybe we're that out there, widely available. But yeah, this is, again, a very big kind of Hitchcock love letter.
Yeah, very much.
I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was actually one of his better movies. And I'm not saying that his movies are lesser or anything like that. This is one of my favorites, I should say.
It was, I really liked watching it, but narratively it's kind of a hot mess.
Yeah, but it's so great. I enjoyed the entire thing. I never was I hate this. I'm bored. Because this is literally, we watched this on Thanksgiving, so we had got done eating all this turkey and food, and we sit there and we're watching it, and I'm usually you'd be I fall asleep on everything. I'm
right.
I'm I fall asleep I've been shot 6 times and I'm slowly dying. I'm just but no, literally, I was up laying on the couch I was very invested in this movie. It just caught my attention. It opens up really strange. It opens up on this like talk show with this character who they think is going to be a peeping Tom, but he's not. So he ends up going on a date with the woman who they set up, the model. It's
Right.
Margaret Kidder. And so they end up dating, and it's like this like 25-minute scene. The movie's really feels like 3 or 4 scenes stretched out into an hour and a half.
Yes.
But that's not a negative. Like, for some reason, the pacing is perfect. It feels perfect. So they end up dating, and kind of right away, you know, she's a little unsettled. She needs her medicine. She forgot to take her meds. And so he goes out to get the meds for her, and it's her birthday. And he heard her arguing with her sister that, you know, and everything like that. So he knows there's 2 of them. So he ends up picking a cake for twin sisters and bringing it back. But he is brutally murdered.
Yeah, it's very similar to Dress to Kill in that you follow a character for a good chunk of the movie, like at least a quarter in, and then they're gone.
Then they're gone.
Yeah.
They're out of the picture. Somebody actually witnesses the murder, which would be a rear window kind of technique, and they end up getting involved. They also happen to be kind of a reporter who writes articles about police brutality and how negative police are and everything like that, which could be cut out of the headlines today. There's a lot of that, people being very anti-police and people witnessing all these horrible acts done by police and everything like that and putting them out in the public. So she contacts the police. Obviously, the police are not thrilled with her. They don't believe her. They do investigate, though, and they do a pretty decent job, surprisingly.
Right.
But they unfortunately don't find anything because the body was hidden in a couch.
Yes.
So
in a white couch full of blood.
Yeah, you can't. Not everything's perfect. So there's spoilers, of course, in this one. Then it kind of divides into 2 stories. We have Charles Durning, who is a actual private eye, who's very funny in this movie, very entertaining, kind of helping her figure out everything and the murderer. And then it kind of divides where she starts to do her own kind of research, and she ends up kind of studying the ex-husband, played by William Finley, who's the Phantom of Paradise himself, also in Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive, and realizes that this whole story unfolds into a very strange kind of nasty medical experiment, psychological insanity shit. So
Right. It involves conjoined twins, the severing of them, one passing away and then adopting the psyche of the other one when she gets around.
And I called it like immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, this is gonna. I was like, I don't know if I had heard people talk about this movie. I was like, oh yeah, man. I was like, there's only one. There's no way there's 2 of them. I was like, there's no way there's 2.
No way.
A, and then I was like, B. Oh, when they said she died, they kind of explain it a couple times too, but like they do it not super on the. No, they do it later on the head where they explain it super like right down to the details. But earlier when they show the flashback videos in the hospital, that kind of stuff, you get little glimpses and everything. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I think some of the hospital footage, like there's a lot of like I guess maybe you would call it like third party footage. Like, you know, there's the games from the beginning, there's the documentary about you know, I guess like the actress that she's following was like a really famous case study, and like everybody lost contact with her after the operation.
Yeah, but this doctor, I thought it was going to do the whole run by the lunatics at one point.
Yeah, I thought that too. The main character's mom kind of hints as such that they're just letting crazy people like live normal lives in the suburbs. It's, you know, like a group home scenario, but they never really go with that. The movie itself, I think, when it goes from like point A to point B or point B to point C, it's really almost disconnected, I feel. It's like everything wants to be a twist. But, like, when he twists, he kind of forgets what he already said, and so it's like, well, this is what we're doing now, so don't worry about the stuff you already saw.
That's probably to keep you always kind of confused and just, you know, always guessing. I like it. I thought it was pretty cool. And I didn't mind any of that stuff. I did like the weird, like, psychedelic trip that she had, and it completely, like, they're definitely making a statement on, like, the medical science, how bad they can do, like, psychoanalyst shit and fuck you up. Because that part at the end was great, where they're like, so what happened with the body? There was no body because there was no murder. What are you talking about? You just told us this. Like, I was so confused. He finally comes around. He's not being a prick. And then he's like, I bought you chocolates. Like, he like legitimately is like any other idiot guy. He's like, I bought you chocolates. You should be nice to me now.
Yeah, the main character, I guess you would call her the main character, the reporter, she ends up getting hypnotized and like, you know, and like once everything's kind of like wrapped up, they're like, okay, so what really happened? And like she can't tell because it's been
she's been taught to trip that one. But like she believes everything that happened. But when it comes to that one moment, she's just like, There is no body
Right.
because there was no, that she's been hit completely brainwashed. I love that, but the music's fucking great.
Music's good in this.
It's just like sticks in your head. It's Bernard Herrmann, and I feel like I've heard this music a million times. I don't know if it was used for something else or just Bernard Herrmann's music is so iconic because Psycho and everything he did. Taxi Driver, his score is just one of the best. He's one of the best guys to score movies. A very memorable score here. And I'm wondering, it's so memorable if it hadn't been used a million times after or something before that I've seen. But I just like the score quite a bit. I really liked this one. It was very, very entertaining. Like it never, no downtime for me. Like I know a lot of people are like, how can a movie be that entertaining when it's essentially feels like 3 long scenes? Like, and it really does.
Yeah, it is a very entertaining movie. Like I said, it's
very
disjointed,
procedural too.
But it is very entertaining, and each scene, I think, has really good arcs and ups and downs.
Now, I'm not going to tell you it's better made than Dress to Kill, but I enjoy it more than Dress to Kill.
I enjoy it more than Dress to Kill because I think it's almost, some parts are shot like a fever dream, including the actual fever dream scene.
Yeah. It's more guerrilla do-it-yourself.
Yeah, and Dress to Kill, like, there was something lacking in that script, and it was probably just like, I don't know.
I think it's a great movie. I just prefer this one.
This one is the better version.
I mean, he all makes all Hitchcockian movies, but Dress to Kill's still a little too close to Psycho for me. I don't know. Like, I know all those Psycho ripoffs that are, but this one just feels so much like Psycho, Dress to Kill, I mean. Like, literally.
I've never seen Psycho.
You've
so
seen
I can't
it.
Really.
You're such a liar.
No, I've seen, like, the last 20 minutes, I guess.
It. But, anyways, I enjoyed Sisters, like I said. The performances are really strong. I think more so by Charles Durning. Even though he comes in at 51 minutes into the movie, but he's still very funny. Like that part where she's spying. Everybody's spying on each other, too.
Yeah.
Like, Voyeur City here. But, like, when she's, like, spying on him when he's dressed as the window washer, and he's in the apartment, he keeps coming to the window, he's like... he's just like...
Well, my favorite thing is, I'm going to give away the ending scene, but, like, the whole movie's wrapped up.
And then we're like, where's Charles? We're like, what happened to Charles Durning?
Right, and then, like, it ends, and it's just, like, it shows the couch in, like, a train station.
It could
like,
be in Siberia, for all we know,
yeah.
and he's followed this couch miles. And
because he was at least headed to Quebec. We know that much. And it's just, like, slowly pans out, and then it pans up to, like, this man, and it's him on a telephone pole.
Dressed as an electrician.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's done, it's over. We know what everything happened.
Just go get the couch.
Just go get the couch.
Just open the couch. Like, why is there a body in this?
Right. Yeah, it was, and like that's the end scene. It's just like him like looking. It's like, okay.
I like it though.
Yeah, I did like it. Like I said, like those weird comedy bits were just like perfect for it.
Yeah, it was decent comedy bits for sure. There's good suspense too.
Yeah, a lot of good suspense.
I was so pissed when she dropped that cake.
Oh yeah.
I was so mad. Like if you were the cop too, it just made you like. It makes her look crazy. It makes her look crazy. You're just like, she just runs and drops a cake on the cop's foot. Like,
here's everything.
Dominic, and
covered in blood.
No, but they did not look at the back of a couch which had a blood stain on it.
Oh, right, yeah.
But still, I mean, it is what it is. That's nitpicking when you're like, well, I should have saw that. Of course they should have saw that. But hey, that's the fun of it.
Right.
I mean, cops and people have made bigger mistakes, and criminals have got away with bigger things than that. So I would recommend it. Let's read from our books.
Okay.
Creature feature, John Stanley. Sisters, 3.5 out of 5. Director Brian De Palma's homage to Hitchcock, a.k.a. Blood Sisters, is black comedy and biting satire, but confused by erratic editing, strange juxtaposition of scenes, and lack of logic, because De Palma's intentions are fuzzy. Sisters is an intriguing mess. The director, who co-wrote with Louisa Rose, examines one of 2 Siamese sisters, both played by Margaret Kidder, who keeps splitting her personality, not to mention a few heads. Jennifer Salt, an irascible reporter, sets out to prove the sister committed murder. True, the suspense is considerable, and there is excellent use of split screen, but it's ultimately a bumble of a jumble. Bernard Herrmann wrote the music, Charles Durning, Bernard Hughes. Bernard Hughes is also in here from Lost Boys and Cold Turkey. He plays a doctor. He's got a good scene where he's really infatuated with the Siamese conjoined twins and talks about it. Remember, that's when she goes to the journal place and the newspaper. And
is he the...
Yeah, he's
okay. All right, Sisters.
I think that review is dead on, by the way.
I think so. This is 3 out of 4, 73.
Yeah.
De Palma's first venture into Psycholand, this enjoyable shocker mixes elements from that classic with ideas from Rear Window and Spellbound. A militant Staten Island reporter, Salt, witnesses a brutal knifing in the apartment next door, seemingly committed by the deranged ex-Siamese twin of French-Canadian fashion model Kidder. When the police can find no evidence of the crime, Salt decides to investigate the murder herself. Although filled with wild inconsistencies and lurid excesses, this film is acted and directed with such style and verve that it hardly matters. Bernard Herrmann's chilling electronic score adds immeasurably to its success. British title Blood Sisters. Which, again, I would agree. Scene for scene, they're fantastic, but they are very disjointed. It's almost like an anthology. I don't know how to explain it in any other way.
The split screen is excellent, though. I forgot about how good it was edited, especially when he's going up to the window and that shit.
Yeah.
And, like, when he's, like, trying to get the body out of there, and William Finley is going down the hallway, and it's like, he barely gets out of it, and you see them coming.
Right.
Like, that was so well done.
Yeah, it was almost like as if it was, like, choreographed. Like, they are filmed
definitely choreographed. They were filmed,
simultaneously.
no doubt, and it was perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10. Really liked it.
I'd give it, like, a 3.5, 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Phantom of Paradise and Carrie, your favorites?
Well, Carrie was like a 5. Phantom of the Paradise, I'd probably give like a 4, 4.5, maybe a 4.
Carburetors, man. That's what life's all about.
I don't know what that means.
That's what he says in the song. That's the Beach Boys style band. Carburetors, man.
That's right.
That's what life's all about.
I forgot. Ugh. I cannot stand the Beach Boys, and I don't want to get into a rant right now, so I won't. As much as everybody wants me to.
Rant. I doubt. Yeah, the people are foaming at their lips. We hate the Beach Boys.
Right.
Nobody is. Nobody hates the Beach Boys.
Justify our hatred of it. It's like, they just
I hate Brian. Brian Wilson sucks.
I couldn't name a single Beach Boy, or a single Beatle, or a Monkey. Not that any of those bands are related. Maybe the Beatle and the Monkeys.
It's the Beatles, not Beetle and Monkey. And it's the Monkeys.
Beetle and Monkey.
Beetle and Monkey. We're done. This is over. I'll post what's next week. I screwed everything up.
Just delete this whole segment.
It's over. We're not going to finish
But yep,
now.
we're done. Yeah, this is it. Bye, everyone.
He wrote help on this window in his own blood, and I watched him write it. I don't bite, you know.
What did they call you?
He's a freak! Look at the freak!
Hitchcock's Vertigo was the film that De Palma said initially inspired him to become a director.
It became something kind of exciting, I think, and tasty for the movie makers.
The darkness of going into that tunnel it was part of the experience.
And I had to clean up this mess that had been created. So I was much too busy to ever visit the set.
Everybody loved the project, cast and crew. So in that sense, we were all in it together.
This is also the first of De Palma's thrillers to be dominated by strong female characters.
It was just like a bunch of people who wanted to make movies desperately.
Okay, so I am out of ink, so my questions, I'm looking off my phone. If you were stuck in purgatory, what would it look like? Probably lost in traffic, or just like lost driving through like a bunch of like roads I had no clue where I was at night, and just trying not to know where I am, and just constantly being pissed at like 2 o'clock in the morning. That's my purgatory. How would you convince someone, maybe Jeremy, to reevaluate a movie they dislike but you like very much? A passionate speech, bribe them with money or goods, threaten to sing to them nonstop. Some people you can convince, you know it. Some people you can convince on certain things, and some people you can convince on other things. I don't think I could convince Jeremy to like a movie he didn't like, but other people I would try. It depends what the movie. It depends. I would literally try. If somebody disliked Day of the Dead, the 85 version, what is that? Don't Argue with Fools, so I probably would just ignore them. But if it was kind of a movie I knew that I understood why people disliked it, I don't know. I wouldn't try to change anyone's opinion on certain things because I don't care enough, to be honest. Unless it was like a gun to the head, I have to change their mind. Skip Barber. I mean, I do try to change some people's mind I like, or just try to, convince them that it's better than they think it is, or just at least get them to say it's not bad, but it's not for me. I'm fine with that. But if they're like, "Here's the worst movie ever," then I start to have problems with it. Skip Barber, here's a question for you. How many movies have been filmed at your residence, current or former? I asked since I noticed that the short Amy looks like at your house. So Amy was filmed at the current house I live in. Part of Paying Up, a short I was in, was filmed at my old residence. Halloween Spookies was filmed at my mom's house and one of my old residents. Simon Little Bastards was filmed at an apartment I lived at and my mom's house. Geez, what else? I'm thinking some of those movies did have scenes in my house. The Dustin Mills movies, but I can't register. Oh, I know my friend Kayla Elizabeth shot a short that pretty much used my house, my old residence. Oh man, I cannot think. Dustin Mills movies, which ones? I know he shot a scene for Ouija that they had to reshoot because the footage got lost or damaged or something like that. I can't register the movies after that. What else? I think Benny and Steve, which never got released yet, was shot some of that at my house. So yeah, and Rip had a scene shot in my old residence, both those old residents. So yeah, those both had old. So a lot of them. And then answers. Basically, I asked, tell me a movie I didn't like that you like, and maybe kind of tell me why, so I can reevaluate my opinion, because I'm always about noticing that I'm wrong. Nick Moore, I remember you saying you're not a fan of Ben Wheatley's A Field in England, and by extension, maybe even the entire Stuck in Purgatory subgenre. I love both the subgenre and this particular film. Firstly, Field is shot in black and white, and who doesn't love that, especially if you're into horror. The music is enchanting, as Ennio Morricone vibe without being derivative. I love how Mr. Wheatley can accomplish so much with limited means that show both skills and flair. The actors are spellbinding. You feel as if you're out in the field with them, and you can't help but feel for them as they're forced to constantly switch allegiances and reevaluate their choices. I also love the use of English language. It feels Shakespearean and lowbrow all at once, so you don't understand what's being said. It also reminded me of the Bergman classic The Seventh Seal, again without falling into the trap of cheap imitation. Even though I might not understand what exactly took place in this chilling story, I'm glad they undertook the journey and will do it again. I'll stop whining a la Brad Pitt in an interview with a vampire now before you start spotting gray hairs, Mr. Parka. That movie I think is well made and well shot. I felt it drug out, and I know it's a good movie. Like, it's well shot. There's no argument there. It's something I need to revisit. I'm sure that I would find appreciation for it. I don't dislike the whole purgatory subgenre, but sometimes, it's weird. Like, you'll be watching one and you're like, are you supposed to know this is purgatory? And like, sometimes you act like it's a twist and you get mad if you figured it out. And that's just kind of like counterproductive or not even their intention sometimes. So I'll give it another chance when I get a shot. Matt Reedy, Roadhouse, because it's the best movie ever. Inside joke at work. I was just like, why does everybody love Roadhouse so much? I don't hate Roadhouse, but I was just confused. Like, everybody's like, I love Roadhouse. I was just like, stop it. Stop with the Roadhouse. I don't hate Roadhouse, though. Skip Barber, every movie I've ever discussed with you, we both love, so I guess I can't answer. J Wall, honestly, it's not happened. I haven't liked something that you have, but I haven't liked something that you have, but I've never heard you rip a film I liked. Peter Englund, I saw one time an old video of doing a review of Hong Kong slasher movie Dream Home, and you were not very positive about it, but maybe you should rewatch it again after so many years. And David Gibson agrees. Dream Home is my favorite modern slasher. I didn't see the review, but I would agree with Peter. Yeah, I don't remember disliking that movie. Maybe I was just a little bit less happy with it than I thought I'd be, but definitely a movie I need to revisit. I did pick up the Blu-ray. I remember liking it, but I don't think I loved it. And Aaron Fram, pretty sure you didn't care for Future Kill, one of my favorites. Love everything about it. I have a soft spot for terrible movies and can totally understand why you or anyone might not like it, but for me, the dark dystopian sci-fi mixed with Porky's antics and goofiness just does it for me. I wish it would get the Blu-ray treatment from Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow. It deserves it, in my humble opinion, far more than some of the titles they have received it. Yeah, it's not the worst movie. It's been released on Blu-ray. It needs to be on Blu-ray. I think it would help with the dark quality. It's one of those movies that, like, you watch and you're like, I can't see anything. Like, on VHS, you probably didn't see a thing. But it does have its moments, and it does have some interesting qualities about it. It does have people involved with it that are definitely worth noting. So I don't hate it. I just don't really like it either. I just think it's kind of boring in a certain extent. But, I like a lot of movies like that and that level and stuff that people don't like. So I completely get it. Matthew Hudson, Dave, I really want to answer this, but I can't actually think of something I loved you trashed. Honestly, I can't think of anything you really trashed. That's why I listen to you. What comes to mind would probably be the teeny bopper slashers from the 90s, a genre I must admit I have a weakness for, and I think you don't. Most of the terrible movies I love, you seem to also love. Maybe if you watch King Solomon's Mind, I could give you a better answer. LOL. And I think that I have seen that on TV. I just don't remember it 100%. Moods, fruit, everything lately. Not true. Corley Johnson, the only thing I can think of is Cry Wolf. Remember You Not Caring for It. I think it's a very, very fun thriller, but most people don't like it because it's sold as a slasher. I need to rewatch that one because it's for '05 and I've not seen it since I was like 20. So then we have Corley. Then we have Cody Lee Harden, Abraxas, because I'm a man, a woman. Mark Humphreys, I could think of a few Hammer films you didn't like that are favorites of mine. One that springs to mind is Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. Always the atmosphere of impending doom hanging over the story, and rare for Valerie Leon to get her starring role. Yeah, I was hard on that one because the bad thing about doing all those Hammer movies back to back is like if I were to watch a Hammer movie once every month, I would always love it, but I was watching so many back to back to back, like the repetitive nature of it just drove me nuts. And there's some that I love, like there's very rarely, like there's only like 15 of the 60 I watched that are under like a 7. So like most of them I really liked, but at the same time, Blood for the Mummy's Tomb, that was my least favorite one, like of all the Hammer movies. And I know a lot of people like it, but it just was not for me. I just maybe a rewatch in the future, far removed from the Hammer shows. So maybe. Salvador Funkenstein, I mean The Girl Next Door, but then again it has been about a decade for me too, and quite honestly it probably hasn't held up. I think you also said something about the original Phantasm being hokey, but that one is comfort food to me. It may be a little rougher on the edges, but it works for me. I never said I disliked Phantasm. It is a little hokey, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Phantasm's a classic. I mean, like almost every movie could be considered hokey, I guess, but Phantasm is just very memorable. The music and everything, it's just kind of something special. I remember I put that on for my parents probably when I was like, I don't know, 12 years old or something. I liked it, and I was like, you guys should check this out, and they watched it, and they're like, no, not liking it. They did not like Phantasm. Jason Lindbergh, Chud, my first gore film. Awesome FX, scary at moments. The sewer atmosphere was always very cool to me. Stars John Hurt and Daniel Stern. Seeing the uncut version was magic. Fixed a lot and added character development. I like Chud. I like Chud probably more than I should. I grew up with Chud. I even like Chud 2. I know a lot of people, we're going to get on that. Oh, Dave likes Chud 2. He's an idiot. I don't care what you think about Chud 2. I like it. I'm stupid and I like it. But I like Chud. I just think that the concept could have been explored better but it is less about the monsters and more about again the politics of people dumping shit in the sewers and them not caring about poor people. That's kind of the theme of this week or something like that. But yeah, anyways, Chud's really cool. It's just that I wish it was better. I do like it though. Tim Hayes. These are just comments. Jesse Vint was also in Forbidden World, which I think you either covered or you showed off. The Steelbook in the Past update. Friended him on Facebook recently. Nice guy. While he was doing Black Oak Conspiracy for Roger Corman, he ended up dating the legendary Karen Carlson. He later did Death Sport for Roger Corman, but he told me he just took a small role in that to be close to the leading lady Claudia Jennings at the time. So it sounded like he was in a relationship with her as well. Kathy Bates. Maniac Cop 2 should be taught in public schools. Would not argue it. If I had a chance to sign it into the criteria, I most certainly would. See, we have gym class, we have science, then we have William Lustig hour. I remember watching Wolf Creek in the movie theater on Christmas Day, the year it came out. Merry Christmas. Hope you like murder. Then we have Toblerone 007. Anything with Maniac in the title seems to work for me. Oh, I'm sure we could come up with a couple. What about Maniac Farmer? Check that one out if you think everything does. I don't want to be ragging on the movie, but yeah, that one's not for me. Isissimo. How do you say that? Esamicio? Is it S.A. Miso? Miso, like miso soup at the end? Host show sounds amazing and right up my alley. Need to give that a watch ASAP. We need more no remorse Christmas themed flicks that will feed it to you straight with just brutal violence. May the Devil Take You and May the Devil Take You 2 are both great films, although I do find myself liking his action thriller titles a tad more for the choreographed / kills. Wolf Creek is a good one for 05. John Jarrett does a fantastic job. One movie you liked, but I don't, is Spree. I don't know. The whole millennial attention-seeking validation films are growing old to me. I love Gretel and Hansel. Fantastic imagery and interpretation. I wanted to grab it, but missed out because it sold like hotcakes. Another great update. I watch these while I'm working, and they make the work days more fulfilling. Thank you very much. Jay vs. Horror, my favorite, he basically saying female director is Bigelow, Catherine Bigelow, Near Dark. Best body work, probably the Soskas. See, the problem is, Near Dark's a great movie, but she really only did the one horror movie. That's the problem. Like, I wish that, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it just, maybe they don't want to get stuck in directed horror movies their whole life, like John Carpenter, George Romero. So, I don't know. But the Soskas, I remember like an American Mary, and what was the other one? One of the other ones I watched, I didn't really care very much for, but I can't remember what it was. I haven't watched their newest one. I don't have much interest in the Rabbit remake. I just can't. I know it's like old man get off my lawn thing. I just can't do it. Big fan of the old one though. So question of the week. So I basically was talking about John Finch's voice, how great it was, and Frenzy. So I want to know, what actor or actress has your favorite voice? Like, who is your favorite? I might have done this already, but who has your favorite voice? Like, Oliver Reed is a voice that comes to mind for me, but I'm bringing it up again. So, who has your favorite voice? I don't want a voice actor. I want, Telly Savalas has a great voice, tons of those people. But just give me a voice. Favorite voice of any actor or actress. And then I guess we're going to hop into the update. So, we're going to start this off with the 4Ks. There's some Black Friday stuff. Casino, $10. Martin Scorsese. Have not watched this in a long time. Can't go wrong with this movie though. Great movie, great cast. Come on, can't pass it up, man. Love it. Requiem for a Dream was only $8 on 4K. I don't think I have. I might have a Blu-ray. No, I have a DVD. But man, this movie super depressing. Might only watch it a couple more times, but a great movie nonetheless. And that soundtrack, it's been embedded in my head forever. Gremlins, gotta love Gremlins. Joe Dante's Gremlins, classic movie here. Very fun. Wish the second one was on 4K because I like that one just as much, if not more. I know, right? But Gremlins, very great movie, very fun. Christmas horror movie, yeah. War of the Worlds from 2005, starring everybody's favorite actor, Tom Cruise. I'm just kidding. But I don't hate Tom Cruise, and I don't hate this movie. Steven Spielberg, I remember this one being fairly entertaining. I know people are like, it's not like the old one, but hey, come on. Whatever, it is what it is. Pet Sematary, classic movie here, I always enjoyed this one. Definitely going to enjoy rewatching it on 4K. Loved it as a kid. Man, a lot of memorable stuff for a kid in that one. Watched it way too young. And then we have the Blu-rays. The Beast with a Million Eyes. Not seen this one. Looks fun. Love the sci-fi kind of deals. That's a scary monster on the back there. He's going to get you. Then we got Nana. Or is it Nana? So yeah, this is she is a Venus of the gutter. She is a corrupting demon of Paris. She is a poem of desires of the male. Yeah, it's a Golden Globus movie. Yeah, this one I didn't know much about, but Ronan had the Black Friday sale or whatever, the sale, and I grabbed these three, good prices on them. This and Beast with a Million Eyes, and this one, Shredder. This was definitely a sale movie for me. I have not seen this one. The cover art's pretty great. I had the DVD. It's a ski slasher made in that time frame when I hate slashers, but hey, this one looks fun to me. 2001. It might be all right. Why not, right? Maybe it's a remake of Iced. That'd be fun. Divine Fury. This looked cool to me. Not seen it. Looks martial arts exorcism movie. So why the hell not? Looked cool. Then we got the Umbrella edition of Day of the Dead, my all-time favorite movie. I heard that this looks better. I heard this Blu-ray looks better. I don't know if it's true, but next time I watch Day of the Dead, which won't be too long, I'll pop in this one and report back. Man, love this movie, man. It's my all-time favorite movie. What can I say? I talk about it all the time. Then we have the Screaming Skull, Scream Factory. Good price. It was buy two, get one from Amazon. Why the hell not? Good price on it. It was like $8-9. Then we have I Bury the Living with Richard Boone. Who I believe, isn't he in The Shootist? I believe he's one of the guys in The Shootist, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think, yeah, he's the ugly guy, for sure. Not that he's ugly, but he is in The Shootist, okay? Yeah, so not seen this one either. I think this is the one that Brian Sauer talks about a lot. It has a really cool plot with the burial plots. Yeah. Then we have The Host, which I've never seen. I know, right? But it's supposed to be great. I'm sure it is. And I will watch it when I get a chance. But yeah. So I guess that's everything. Back to the video. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, have a good one.